Hello, everybody. I'm Daniel. I'm the founder of Startup CPG. I'm super excited for today's webinar because we love the fancy food shows we have for a long time. It always just really struck me when I was attending, even when I was just focused on a brand that I was running, of just how good of a ratio of buyers to brands you get at these shows. And I can work with that. You give me an opportunity where there's like a lot of buyers, not too many people around pestering them like we love to do. I can make stuff happen there. And so it's just, it's a really beautiful environment. And we have, as an organization, have really leaned in with SFA and Fancy Foods to have a dedicated section at the shows where our brands crush there. They have a great experience. It's really wonderful. We love to throw events around the show as well. And I'll mention a couple of those a little bit later. But I'm just really excited to have the team from SFA here today because this is going to be a new format also for the winter show. Probably a lot of you guys know that last year and in years past it was in Las Vegas and had been in San Francisco in years past. But there are a lot of really cool new developments, re-evolution of the show, let's call it, this January. So I'm really excited to have the team here to talk to us about that. We've also got Robert from New Seasons. Thank you so much for joining us, who is going to be also at the show. And so we'll hear a little bit of his perspective in a second, as well as Stephanie from Ringa. So you can hear it. You don't have to just take my word from it for it. You can hear it from her also. So really excited. And of course, as probably all of you on this call know, there is going to be a chance for one lucky brand to win a booth in a tabletop in our section. And we'll give out the details about that in a little bit here. There will be a form that you can go and apply to. So I'll give out that link in a little bit here. But Liana, can I pass to you to just kick us off here?
You bet. Thanks so much, Daniel. Hi, everybody. My name is Liana Salama. I head up the Marketing and Communications Department over the Specialty Food Association. And as Daniel mentioned, we're very excited for our partnership with Startup CPG and, with all of the energy that you guys and, all the brands involved really bring to the show. It's our goal to set up an environment that's really ripe for success. So as Daniel mentioned, we really focus on bringing a great ratio of buyers. I think we say, generally speaking, out of every 4 people that walk past your booth, 3 of them, probably 2 of them are buyers, and then the other one is either an investor or a member of the press. So 3 out of 4 people walking past your booth are probably somebody that you want to have a conversation with. So to get started, I wanted to talk a little bit about Winter Fancy Faire because we've been out here saying for the last couple months that, this is a different show and we're trying some different things. And I'm excited to be able to get into some more specifics here, in particular related to what we're doing in the city of San Diego now that we're back in California. So with that, what we think about with Winter Fancy Faire is our Winter Fancy Food Show has always been the first show of the year. And we never really leaned into that. So we're really trying to embrace that and think about what being the first show of the year means to the community and how we use the timing to kind of reinvigorate and re-energize everyone after the holiday season, and also to kind of set, guidelines and guideposts for the year ahead. So we're coming back to California, for an annual kickoff with some new immersive activations and some interesting things we're doing with data and wayfinding. Some things around the city, and I'll talk about these in a little more detail as we go. But instead of just kind of showing up and landing at a convention center and just doing our thing and then being on our way, we're really going to take an opportunity to expand into the city of San Diego and take advantage of all of the different kind of cultural touchstones that are out there, the different neighborhoods. That's really what our attendees and our members have told us they want, is they want a more holistic experience. They don't want to just drop into a convention center where they could be anywhere. They want to know where they are. They want to experience where they are. So we're doing some sampling at different restaurants and retailers, some unstructured networking, and then there's opportunities to give back that I'll talk about in a little more detail. There has been questions because we are in San Diego this year, and then we are moving to San Francisco, where the Winter Fancy Food Show was for many years. While we are excited to go back to San Francisco and revisit our time there, San Diego is still a long-term home for us. So we're going to do San Diego. We're going to do a couple of years in San Francisco, and then we're coming back to San Diego. So, get used to kind of the outstanding culinary and, retail scene that we have in both of those cities for the next 4 years. A few key show details here. So the show runs the January 11th to 13th, but really it starts on Saturday the 10th. We have a couple of parties that we're doing the night before, including our buyer welcome reception, our new member party. It's also when our campus tasting trail begins, which I'll talk about a little bit as we go. And then the 11th, 12th, and 13th are our show days. Of note, on January 11th, the Good Food Mercantile will be co-locating with us. The Good Food Foundation puts on a small tabletop event featuring brands and products that have been gone through their process for not certification, but for credentialing of ingredient integrity and best practices in sustainability in development. We'll also have a first night party there, the first night celebration. And then on Monday, we'll be doing our Sophie Awards, which we've moved over to the Winter Show, as well as our Culture in Common party. And then, of course, on Tuesday, the last day of the show there. Just some examples of some of the folks. This is just a snapshot of some of the folks we have committed to exhibit this time around. This slide, it only fits so many people on there, but we're expecting somewhere in the neighborhood of 700 to 800 brands when it's all said and done. Just gives you an idea of kind of the variety that we have there. And then in terms of who attends, again, we've done my buyer relations team has done a great job of securing a lot of folks early on, earlier than we've ever had folks registered before, to get them really excited, get them ready for this, and to create some experience that are specific for our buyer community.
Thanks, Leanna. Yeah, so to be honest, I went to the Fancy Food in New York this year, and it's been the first time I've been back to Fancy Food since COVID. So our company stopped going for a while for lots of different reasons with travel and everything else, but it was way different. And also, not just the show itself, but the partnership with Startup CPG, it really was beneficial for me as a buyer. I went in and Daniel and his team got me set up with one-on-one meetings. We partnered on, having me attend his events after the show. And there's just a lot of benefit there for a buyer and for the brand. Like Daniel said earlier, you have a really good ratio. So you have these great opportunities. And if you can take advantage of that during the time, it's really fantastic. For the show, like I said, it's the first time being back in a while and really looking forward to this new format going into San Diego. But one of the things that I really appreciated is that it's not really like it's very specialty focused, but there's still a lot of natural grocery that was incorporated. And that was a lot different than the years prior, before COVID when I went. And so I really appreciated that, just having a really solid amount of variety of brands ranging from all the imports to, our local kind of regional brands and the startup and the emerging and everything as well.
And yeah, I just want to say thank you, Robert, a lot for all of the support. The show is really great, and probably I think a good way to think about what we do at the show is we just try to make it like an even better experience for our community by trying to just make sure that the emerging brands can have a good opportunity to meet Robert. So you'll see at the show, we have a dedicated section. It is full at this point, except for the one brand that will win a booth from this webinar that we'll announce in just a few minutes here. But then we will, at our booth, also announce all of these opportunities for all of you guys to apply for one-on-one meetings with a bunch of top tier buyers and distributors. Those happen at our booth. We let all of you guys submit, and then Robert can pick the ones that really match what he's looking for, and then just have a quick meeting at our booth. And then we have all of these incredible events around the show also. Robert, we're so lucky that you come and attend those, and brands get a chance to chat with you. And many other people like Robert out there, the buyers at all these accounts that you really are just coming to the show to talk to. We try to make sure that you get a chance to interact with them at the show. And I think at a show like, Fancy Food in the past and now Winter Fancy Faire, it's possible because it's not an S show of an event. I'll try not to curse. It's like it's a productive show, it's a focused show, it's stuff where you can have longer conversations as well, I would say. Robert, I'd be interested to hear your perspective on this, but for me, I found always at the fancy food shows, you're more likely to get longer time also chatting with a buyer where you can maybe even like fast forward a couple conversations because at some other shows it's so crazy and you have so much ground to cover, but this is like it just feels like it can be more of like a longer conversation, more in depth. What do you think?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I know in New York, it was the first day I barely put a dent in the show as far as how many booths I was able to get to. And that was because there were just so many great conversations. And I spent a lot of time in that area with the startup CPG brands and all of the emerging brands. That's kind of where I started and put the majority of my time and focus. But yeah, there's just so much to learn about, these new products coming to the market and a lot of questions. So to Daniel's point, you start getting into the deeper questions that you can have in conversations that you normally wouldn't have until later on through the relationship. And so, we get into what that really looks like to be a partner versus just what's your product about and who's your distributor.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. And just getting the chance to progress that a little bit further is nice because you guys don't know, you've been to some trade shows where you're just like get 100 very quick conversations and then a lot of that stuff falls away after the show or there's not as much of a follow-up. But I think feel like these shows give you the chance to really establish a strong relationship. And there was a question in the chat here, if you can still submit even if you don't have a booth in the section. Absolutely. Our section, we have basically 26 booths and those we announce really far in advance. So those are all filled up, but really recommend you guys, if you're going to go to the show, get a booth near our section. Definitely the buyers will be around. That's a great place to be. We love for you to be near us and, really feel the community. But yes, you can apply for these meetings even if you don't have a booth and as long as you're at the show and you have a badge, then you'll be able to apply for that also, or at the events around the show. Cool. Liana, maybe I'll pass it back to you to kind of
Yeah, you
keep it.
bet. One note I just wanted to say, I think Robert made a really interesting point related to kind of the makeup of the types of brands and products that you'll see at the Fancy Food Show in the summer and at Winter Fancy Fair. I think there was a time when specialty, years and years ago, when specialty was really more synonymous with gourmet than anything else. And that's really changed. I mean, specialty really encompasses a very, very broad swath of different types of products. I think about it as almost the specialty products tend to almost be kind of the better versions of other things that are out there, right? They tend to be the things that are, maybe less processed or closer to the source or more natural, or they meet certain dietary needs. So there's just the meaning of specialty has really moved beyond kind of that gourmet, slice that it was focused on for a very long time. So moving on, talking a little bit more about kind of the new format that we're talking about with Winter Fancy Fair. So the first thing I want to just articulate is it is still a trade show. There is still a trade show floor. We do still have booths and the tabletop sections and everything else. But I think of what we're doing in kind of a series of concentric circles around San Diego. So the heart of what we're doing, the center of gravity is still the trade show floor where, we have all of our exhibitors. We have different pavilions as we always do. We have our partner pavilions like with Startup CPG. And then we have a number of different activations that I'll talk about a little bit so you can see the different things that we're bringing to light at this show. But important to just remember there is still a trade show floor. We did get a few questions about that at one point as we were talking about the new format. Exhibit space pricing, just putting this out there so folks are aware. Normally a 10 by 10 booth is $4,900. Again, this is significantly less than other shows in the industry. However, we do have additional opportunities that are at lower cost of entry for things like different tabletop and kiosk types of displays. So the QR codes here can get you to the floor plan and to the contacts related to exhibiting. And of course, I will share that information with Daniel and the community at the end of this presentation as well. Some on-site opportunities, some of the things that we're doing from a programming standpoint. The first is what we're calling Discovery Point. And this is an area that consists of kind of two different formats of interactivity and education. The first is our Discovery Kitchen, which is essentially a demo kitchen. But what we're really doing with that is trying to lean into some of the local chefs and local ingredients that are going on so people can get an idea of how the chefs in San Diego bring to life some of the different ingredients based on seasonality, based on, some of the trends that are going on in their lives. So more so than just kind of your traditional celebrity chef demo, we're trying to really bring in some sensibilities around the progressive ways that folks are using ingredients. In addition, next to the kitchen are discovery demo areas. And this is where we've partnered with a number of different subject matter experts and brands to bring forward some creative thinking in terms of sourcing, sustainability, sensory experiences, ingredients, new types of flavors and textures. So kind of an idea of, what's coming next? What are the different types of ways that people are thinking about the food supply chain, how we source food, how we develop food, and, what types of consumer sensibilities we're really looking to fulfill here. Next up is our first taste table. This is a spot where we will have buyers sitting. We will have reserved slots where we will do flights of tasting menus. So actually guided tastings with the folks behind the brand standing up, talking about their products, and then leading our folks through a guided tasting. And then last is Spotlight Shop, which there's a little more detail about here. We're really excited about Spotlight Shop. This is a space that we used to have and still do, it's the summer show, have the Spotlight showcases, which are the large kind of glass plexi display locations. So this Spotlight Shop, we've brought on an industry merchandiser and retail designer to help us build out a little retail environment within the convention center that is meant to really mimic kind of a typical pop-up grocery type of environment. So instead of being behind plexi and kind of these individual spots, this will actually be stocked and merchandised with our exhibitors' products, but in a way that's really kind of closer to what they would look like in real life at a retail establishment. So then when I talked about those concentric circles and kind of the beyond the convention center. So the next kind of layer out of the convention center are a couple of events that we're doing immediately surrounding the area. So right across the street, you have a couple different locations, and then broader out into the community where you have areas like the Little Italy neighborhood, the Barrio Logan neighborhood, and the Gas Lamp District. So to kind of go through some of the things we're doing with that. The first is our campus tasting trail. And this is something we're really excited about. And it's very limited in terms of how many folks can participate, but we're looking at blowing this out as we go through the years. We have partnered with 13 different restaurants and 7 different retailers in the San Diego area. And what they are doing is they are actually taking in a handful of exhibitor products during the time that we're in town to create bespoke dishes with them that will actually be available on their menus. And as an attendee, exhibitor attendee, as a participant in Winter Fancy Faire, if you go to any of these restaurants during the time that we're in town, you will receive that particular dish, probably an appetizer, at no charge. SFA will pick up the tab for that dish, and then, you can feel free to just have that or order anything else you want. But I think what we're trying to do with this is, we're bringing all of this really great specialty food into the city of San Diego. And we're inviting the community to reflect it back at us through kind of their lens and their culture and their culinary tastes and sensibilities. So there are a handful of spots left for this. It's relatively inexpensive. It's $1,500 plus the 175 servings of product. But this map you see here is interactive on our site, where it takes you to all the different restaurants that we're going to be working with and all of the different brands that are participating and information about the dishes that are going to be created with these different brands. I'm gotten a lot of excitement around this, just this idea of being able to sample in a really interesting, different way, that's really authentic to a San Diego experience. Additionally, the retailers we're working with, what they're going to do is simply just be going to give away, it's free purchase with gifts, or I'm sorry, free gift with purchase. So essentially, anybody who shops at one of these retailers during the 3 days that we're in town will get an exhibitor's product given to them along with information about what it is, how to get in touch with them, whether it's, at the trade show or, online. Our buyer welcome reception will take place at the San Diego Wine and Culinary Center. This is another instance where we are bringing exhibitor products into the menu in order to create not only bespoke dishes, but bespoke pairings of alcoholic and non-alcoholic dishes. There are sommeliers and cicerones over there are working with these products to pair them with any sort of alcoholic, non-alcoholic beverage. I think when we went there, they said, we can pair a cheese curl if you want us to pair a cheese curl. So there's no limit to what they can do to make this interesting. Our first night celebration will be held at Gallagher Square, which is part of Petco Park, the large ballpark stadium there. And that is our kickoff party. The first night of the show, we'll be doing, be catered. We'll have bites and drinks. And we are also going to reveal our 2026 trend of the year. We're going to put a stake in the ground around what we think the biggest consumer trend of 2026 is going to be. And then a year later, we can see how that worked out for us.
I think the best thing to know is really just have this understanding, like put yourself in the buyer's shoes and how many people reach out, and try to separate yourself from somebody. Like I get it a lot where they reach out asking for specific time, like, hey, can we schedule a time, or can we find a spot outside of the show floor? And that's just a really hard ask. So that kind of puts you in I don't know what to call it. I don't want to be rude, but it just puts you down lower on the list as far as somebody I want to talk to. It makes it really challenging for us, and just it's a little disrespectful of our time. And I think the best way to approach it is really just letting us know that you are going to be there. You're going to be, share the booth number, how you can best support when we are there, and also the timing of when you do that outreach. So if it's just a cold outreach, you don't know me at all, you can certainly send something about a month ahead and just let the buyer know that you're going to be there. And then maybe a couple days ahead, you just remind them like, hey, just want to let you know I'm still going to be here. Here's my booth. I'm excited to meet you. And, whatever the value play is, you can kind of sell it there. I wouldn't hard sell your product, but really like what can you bring to them for maybe the category or how we make the most of that time, essentially, just so that we know when we do stop by, it's going to be something meaningful. So that could be confirming that you have distribution, you're ready to go in the market, you have a broker that you already work with, or whatever it is that you can call out that kind of lets us know like, hey, we're ready to partner with you.
I'm sure you're really looking forward to all these experiences also. I know you're someone who likes to get out into the world and do fun things. One time, Robert is a
Yeah,
legend. One time he was like, hey, I just have an extra ticket for this Metallica concert. See if a brand wants to come with me. And one incredibly lucky brand got to go with him and his crew to one of these concerts. They were over the moon. So I know you like to get
yeah,
out there and do fun stuff.
for
Just
sure.
to
Yeah, I'm
build quickly
excited.
on what Robert said there. So we have completely revamped our mobile app this year. And one of the things that we're doing, we started doing this last couple shows that we put it on steroids here, is not only to create more opportunities for folks to engage over the app pre-show. It'll be launched in about, I think, within the next week or two here. But we've taken the time to work with buyers to understand what types of criteria and what types of questions they need answered in order to understand the kind of business readiness of a given brand. So things like whether there's distribution, whether you have a broker, what level of, safety level of food safety, certification you've reached, what your minimum order is. All of these things we've worked into the profiles that you can fill out as an exhibitor. And then our buyers are able to go in and search and very quickly see who are the folks that are kind of lined up with the criteria they need to do business. And what all of our buyers are telling us is if you make it easier for us to kind of like go talk to the people who we know are ready, we will reward the event by then going around and meeting with the people who maybe aren't ready yet, but who can, have some interesting conversations or get some feedback. So the ability to get that business done really efficiently on the front end opens up our buyers to do more exploration and meet more early stage folks on the back end. Would you agree with that, Robert? You bet. Okay, so moving into our Culture in Common party, we are very excited about this. I think there is some overlap with the Startup CPG event, but again, by all means, everyone bop around, go to different events. There's no reason you got to stay at one place the whole time, right? But this is an event that I personally am really excited about. It is really just a community gathering at a place in Logan Heights called the Soak Factory. The venue is really, it's a really special place. It actually is. It was a soak factory originally, but it is now a nonprofit venue that has a lot of different educational programs for some of the underserved youth in the area. So they have, woodworking, they have a hydroponic garden there, fully functional, that they bring the kids in and they teach them how to cultivate plants and, what some of the different plants, one of the different ingredients can be used for. There is soap making there. So they get a lot of the underserved youth in the area there, spending their time learning vocational skills that they can really put to use instead of, being out on the street. They have an artist in residency program. So the Barrio Logan area is very, very much, it's the huge Chicano community in San Diego. And that community has really lifted itself up through food and through art. So lots of, independent restaurants there and lots of artists who are, creating and selling their wares there. And this place has, is really giving back to the community in that way with their artist in residency program. And they also have a series of, they have a little small food hall where they bring in aspiring chefs who can try out different dishes, with the community before they actually go in and start to try and start their own operation. So, it's the party it's just a party. It's the community getting together, but just by virtue of having it at this venue, we are giving back to San Diego in a way that I find really meaningful and allows us to leave the city better than we found it, to contribute back to what's going on. So if you are interested in booking a booth and you are not the lucky person who gets the free booth that SFA and Startup CPG are giving away as part of this event, you can reach out, but please reach out early. As Daniel mentioned, if you're not in the Startup CPG section, but you want to be adjacent to it, it's important to kind of get in front of our folks and get that locked down because space is on a first come, first serve basis. And it also gives you the opportunity to get involved in any of these other types of activations like the campus tasting trail, the spotlight shop, these other things that we're, quickly running out of available space for. QR code here has it goes to our website page that has who your rep would be based on where in the country you're located, or you can just email sales@specialtyfood.com and somebody will get right back to you, usually within about 24 hours.
Maybe this would be a good time to tap in Stephanie.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so Stephanie, thank you so much for joining us for this. Stephanie probably wins the prize for having been at the most startup CPG events also. Stephanie was like, I think the person who like first figured out it's cool to fly around all of our events. Like, it's a good idea. So we love having Stephanie participate in everything. Stephanie, do you mind just sharing what your experience has been like at the shows in the past?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think first and foremost, like in whole, I mean, fancy food, like everyone has said, I really think is a quality show. It's more of a discovery show. You have time to walk the entire show. You have time to spend with the buyers. So, I have a beverage company now, Ringa, and I would say, I think maybe in previous years, it truly was a little bit more specialty and gourmet. Didn't know if beverages quite fit there, but we did exhibit last year, especially if you're doing something, different, niche, high quality, if your focus is, obviously on a specialty and gourmet ingredient, incorporated, in a way like we're using moringa in our beverages, it absolutely was an amazing show for us, even though traditionally maybe beverage buyers weren't trafficking the show. And I will say, yes, we're big believers in startup CPG. What I love about these sections is as a small and emerging brand, when resources are super limited, it's probably just you, maybe your co-founder, maybe your parents, whomever, like you don't have the money for a big booth. You don't have the money for, a bunch of booth personnel. The startup CPG sections, everyone has the same footprint, typically like a 2x6 table or something, probably of the like. So all of your neighbors are people in the same, kind of space as you are. You're not competing with someone next to you that, just did a massive fundraise and has this big booth and all this energy. Startup CPG really does an amazing job of creating a destination within the shows. It's highly trafficked. There's tons of energy. I know there's some comments about reaching out to buyers and making sure they're there. Literally every buyer is walking the startup CPG section, so you don't have to worry about that. They do a great job of, putting together media, giving you assets that you can share out on your social. You can share out to buyers. It looks really professional. It looks cohesive. And it comes with all of those kind of added value bells and whistles. Again, like as a small brand, you necessarily wouldn't be able to put together yourself with just your limited, budgets and human resources. So, needless to say, we obviously love the startup CPG section. We try to do every single event or opportunity that comes our way. And then I really think, obviously I've not been to a Winter Fancy Faire since it's the first one, but been to both summer and Winter Fancy, with my brand and previous brands. And I will say, just the energy there, it's less frenzied than like an expo or some of the other, shows. Again, it's really about quality. You really have, time to have conversations. And I will say for anyone that's just a first time exhibitor, I would also just say like this show and these shows aren't necessarily like selling shows. Like you'll go to a distributor show and that will be like a selling show. People are writing orders. So I think walking into these shows with the expectation, like this is discovery, this is an opportunity to be seen, even though there's a lot of conventional buyers that are there, they're looking for trends, they're looking for new to market opportunities. They're looking for, brands and founders like you that are going to be part of the next wave of what's happening. In emerging CPG. So don't feel bad if you don't walk away with all of these massive commitments because it's about being on the radar. It's about being seen. The fact that you're exhibiting at something like Fancy and being part of the startup CPG section definitely means that like you're in the conversation of like a cool and emerging brand to watch. So nothing but positive things to say about both Fancy as a show and then obviously startup CPG, as an opportunity for small and emerging brands.
Thank you, Stephanie. We love having you and Ringa. Can you tell people what Ringa is, by the way, just in case someone doesn't know?
Yeah, so we are a beverage. So we are moringa, which is our hero ingredient. Moringa is one of the most nutrient-dense plants on the planet, adaptogen, nootropic, complete plant protein. So we combine moringa with apple cider vinegar, kind of for a take on everyday hydration that's better for people and planet. Zero added sugar. We just sweeten with organic fruit juice. And we were just named one of Whole Foods emerging trends for 2026, which we're really stoked about. Yeah. And honestly, like all of this traction, a lot of this traction, of course, is because we've had opportunities to exhibit and be seen. And that's largely thanks to, the crew at Startup CPG and opportunities like we exhibited in the section last year at Fancy, which probably wouldn't have been able to at that point in time just because budgets are tight. So eternally grateful for everything. So thank you.
All right. We love you. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, some of that's about our section, but a lot of it's just about the show overall. And so um, we wish we had 100 booth section on it and we could have everybody in it. But yeah, so but I definitely would encourage you guys. The link is here if you want to talk to the SFA team and look at the floor plan. The floor plan is available on the website. You can look. Somebody was mentioning you can see like where our section is over on the left, which is near one of the entrances. There are a lot of good parts of the floor there, though. And like, I think Leanna had mentioned kiosks. Like, talk to the sales team about what might be right for you, for your budget, for the location. The buyers are going to walk the whole floor, So we love to make sure people like Stephanie in our section are having like the best experience possible. We do a lot around it, but there will be tons of opportunities with us, with the community, regardless of where you are on the floor. And yeah, I mean, Stephanie, any other advice for brands for how to like best prep for the show? Like, okay, you get the booth, you're making the investment. I mean, for me, I would just say personally, I would be looking at who the buyers are that are going. You can see like there are a lot of announcements that come out from SFA about which retailers are attending. You just saw a bunch of logo splashes on there. You'll see a lot of people post on LinkedIn and tag, and you can like look at all of those people, have your list, make sure you're sending notes, like Robert said, kind of respectfully, but ahead of time, know who your buyers are, any other things and go to their panels too, and which I'll also just quick shout out. I'm throwing an epic panel on the main stage there. It's going to be an innovation retailer one. We've got John Lane, who has pioneered the innovation set at Rayleigh's. Incredible. We have got Patrick Wyman from Whole Foods, the forager for all of California and Hawaii. An incredible guy, was at our event last week, which is great. And then we've got April Lane, who is the head of food at Thrive Market. So maybe we'll add one more. I don't know, but they're incredible also. And you'll see us post graphics, and you should be looking at that and hitting them on LinkedIn. Like, I saw you're going to be there. Check out my product, or anything you want to add onto that, Stephanie.
I mean, I would say just try to take advantage of all the opportunities that you can. Go to the parties, be ready to network. It's long and exhausting, but I will say, kind of when you're able to maybe chat with a buyer, outside of the trade show floor, like maybe you're playing golf together or bowling or any of the, number of amazing events that you all do outside of the floor. It's really a way to connect on a much more personal level. I mean, every brand is there obviously trying to get share of mind with the same buyers. And so I think whenever you can add like a personal, connection, a more organic, conversation that maybe doesn't always have to be about your brand, right? Like, remember, these buyers are humans too that have like true personal interests. So, I would say find ways to connect. And then I would just be like, always be ready to pitch, right? Like, make sure you've got sell sheets, make sure you've got, your business cards, make sure I would recommend getting a digital business card through like Blank, or LinkedIn has a function where you can do a QR code and connect. Like, just be prepared, for any moment. It doesn't necessarily always happen behind the booth, to have a conversation. And then I would just say, like, remember, these buyers are getting inundated, for 3 or 4 days or however long it is. So I just think being respectful of their time, their pitch, if they're talking to somebody, don't go in and interrupt, like, wait your turn. Like, there's, just some of those, like the etiquette of just making sure you're representing yourself as a founder and your brand in the best light possible. But I would just say always be prepared. And, if you have the energy, like, get out and do as many of these events as you can, because not everything happens behind the booth.
And if you need more energy, maybe grab a Ringa.
That's right.
But I mean, Stephanie nails this every time at the events, just showing up with really good energy, being out in front of the booth a lot, also just having a good rapport with the buyers and just really building on that. So those are great tips. Thank you, Stephanie. And I know a lot of people were waiting for the form where you can apply for the free tabletop. So I just dropped the link here in the chat. Sorry, I didn't have a nice bit.ly link on it, but that form will work. Just let me know, anyone going to it, if there are any issues with it. But basically, like, today's the day. You guys go in there, do your quick application for the free tabletop in our section. Thank you so much to Leanna and the team for making that available. The person who won last year had a heck of a time at Summer Fancy. The winner was Figa Foods, and boy, did they crush the show. They ended up as like a top 3 pick by Bon Appetit at the entire show. That was pretty nuts. So cool things can happen. So everybody go to that form. The form is going to close tonight. The reason that we do it so quickly is we want you guys to know who wins, because we don't want to interrupt the process. So don't let that prevent you from reaching out to the sales team, because I can see there are 109 people right now on this call. Probably everyone's here is going to apply for it. So your chance is good. I mean, 1 in 109 for a free tabletop is pretty good, but I would just go ahead, and if you want a booth, I would start talking to the show about it, because we're going to tell you guys very quickly if you win or not. And then if you already have a booth, this will not apply for you. Sorry about that. But just know that you're in a good place if you already have a booth. So enjoy the warmth of knowing that. Probably a lot of you guys are furiously filling out this form. We're very excited to see all of the entries here. Leanna, anything else you feel like we didn't cover?
I think we hit all the high points. Again, I would just say that if there are questions we don't get to, or, you want to ask a question about kind of your specific individual situation, go ahead and click that QR code that I put back up there. Reach out to one of our sales reps based on where you are in the US, or just reach out to the general sales at specialtyfood.com email, and our team will be all over it. So I'm very happy to talk to you about your goals, your needs, your budget, and how you can make the most of our event.
I love it. Please, yeah, definitely reach out to the SFA team. They're very nice people. You will enjoy it. A couple other questions that came up at the bottom here. Are there specific things you can or can't do for a booth in the Startup CPG section? I mean, like in our section, I mean, it's full for this one, but you can always apply. We're going to announce applications soon for the summer show also. We just, like, they're tabletops. They're smaller. We just don't allow banners is the only thing, because we like to keep it a clean community look. So everyone, it just feels like we're all there together. That's kind of I think that's the only rule that we have in our section, and it's for the good of the whole section. Somebody else asked, is it a good idea to attend as a new brand that doesn't have a distributor yet? Yes, I think so. And then, I mean, you can decide if you, like, how ready are you to go? You can always attend the show and just like learn about the industry and see all the products that are out there. That will be interesting to you. You're going to see what other people are doing in your category. It's good research to do that way. And you'll just, as an attendee, you will eat well at the show. Maybe the best of any show out there. Probably if you like said I could play supermarket sweep at one show, it would probably be this one with a big shopping cart. So you'll enjoy that. In terms of exhibiting, I would say, like, if you're ready to go, you're ready to start scaling, like you've got, and you have like money to fund the growth also, like, at least depending on what your goals are, you're like, yeah, I'm ready for a couple regional accounts. Like, okay, if you're ready for that, this is a great place to meet those buyers. If you get the buyers, that helps you get the distributor. So I wouldn't say you have to have a distributor coming into this, including there are distributors like, KeHE, Unified, they'll be taking meetings at our booth at the show as well. Foundation Foods. So some good smaller ones and some national ones as well. So this is a great place to get a distributor. I think Leanna mentioned how many buyers there are at the show and in media and, trade, but like the distributors are here at this show. It's a great time to talk to them. They'll be coming around to your booth, and we can help with that as well. Anything you
I
want to
would
add on?
just a note, if you aren't ready to exhibit, if you do want to just go and get a feel for it, get a flavor for it, certainly do that. We do have, outside of our 2 annual shows, we do have year-round membership in the Specialty Food Association that comes with a whole bunch of resources, education, connectivity events, different directories, ways to, partner up with folks. So stop by the membership headquarters and get an idea of, maybe there might be something that we can help you do to get to that next level.
All right. I love it. Thank you guys for all these positive comments. And thank you again to SFA just for all of the support. I think you guys can see just from the comments, like, what a good experience people have had in the past. And it's so much fun for us to get to be a big part of the show and everybody's experience there, and just make it even more fun for the community. And like, we just love helping you guys out and cheering on the success of people like Stephanie. That's why we are here, is to get to do that. So it's very fun for us. So thank you to everyone. I think we got to all the questions here. We're so excited for this new, cool, evolved version of the show. It's going to be such a great time in San Diego. Stay tuned for all our event announcements. Also, if you haven't seen, we just are announcing them in the Slack. So make sure you're signed up for all of our good stuff and hit us up in the Slack. Any questions? All right, Leanna, you want to close us out?
Yeah, no, thanks everyone so much. And, love all the enthusiasm from you guys for Startup CPG, for the fancy food shows. And I think we're really going to put on an exceptional experience in San Diego in January. And I hope to see you all there.
All right. See everybody.
All
Bye.
right.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Bye.
Bye, Leanna.